Welcome back to the cord cutting today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, and I give you my opinion on these stories. Today, including big changes coming to Roku TVs and Roku streaming players. We'll tell you what that is. Also, ESPN and Fox are teaming up to offer a bundle option for their new sports streaming services. It's a lot cheaper than subscribing to each one individually. Will this put pressure on Fubo and YouTube TV and Hulu Plus Live and all those others? Maybe, maybe not. We'll tell you what you need to know about that. And a major internet service is shutting down. But this is one you probably haven't even thought about in a very long time. These stories and a whole lot more coming up in a quick second. First though, you can always find a link to every story I talk about in the show notes and in the first pinned comment, so you can find it there. If you like what we do here, please consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so YouTube recommends our videos to more people, helping us grow and hopefully helping you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. All right, let's dive into it. A few weeks ago, we learned that Roku was testing a new home screen. Now, over the weekend, I had multiple reports from our readers that Roku has been inviting public users of Roku TVs and Roku streaming players to test out the new home screen. And it's a little bit different than what Roku showed us a few weeks ago. Now with this, the biggest change in the Roku home screen, it'll look fairly similar, is a increased number rows of content recommendations. You've probably seen them before. You have the top recommendations and categories above it. Roku's increasing the number of those rows as they try to increase the amount of recommended content. Why? Because they're trying to drive up more viewership, not just for their streaming services, but others, in an attempt to drive up subscriptions to different streaming services and ad revenue from ad viewership by recommendations. In their last quarter earnings, they talked a lot about how they were having great success with these recommended shows and movies to drive up ad views with its TV show. We'll keep a close eye on this, but big changes here. More and more recommended content, a lot like what Google TV does, a lot like what Fire TVs do, and more coming to Roku. But they still promise to maintain that direct look at the Roku home screen to get right to the apps you want. In a statement from Roku to Cord Cutters News, they say, "We are constantly exploring ways to make Roku experience more engaging, always with the goal of delivering a better, more intuitive, and personalized TV journey that reflects today's streaming landscape. Over the coming months, we're testing out updates to the Roku home screen, and some of its users may see some changes firsthand. We're listening closely, and viewer feedback will influence how we think about the home screen in the future. We're excited about what's ahead." And that came from Purchison. I apologize. I'm not even going to try to read that with my dyslexic brain. Link in the show notes. Vice President of Roku Viewer Product at Roku. I apologize. I almost really butchered that name, and I really do apologize about that. But keep an eye on this. You may or may not see this. Unfortunately, you cannot ask to join this beta test. You're either invited or you're not. All right, let's keep moving along. Yesterday, Deadline first broke this news, but then it was quickly confirmed to Cord Cutters News by Fox and ESPN that the two services coming in October will offer a bundle deal. Now remember, ESPN Unlimited, which is giving you access to all the ESPN channels and some additional content, will launch on August 21st, and it will cost $29.99. Fox One will cost, I believe, $20 off the top of my head. Fox One not only gives you their sports FS1, FS2, but Fox News, Fox Business, and a live feed of your local affiliate, even when it's not showing sports with that. Now they've announced a bundle deal launching on October 2nd. Fox service will also launch this month. On October 2nd, for $39.99, you'll be able to get both services. Now, this is one step away from what Venue Sports would have been. Venue was that new live TV streaming service that would have had content from Fox, ESPN, ABC, and Warner Brothers Discovery. Now with this, well, yes, you don't have all the Warner Brothers Discovery content, but if you have a Max subscription, you're not too far away from pretty much getting the full Venue Sports experience. The downside is it will be in 3 different apps instead of the one app Venue Sports would have offered. Now this is what, that was the service that Fubo sued, and it eventually reached a settlement with Disney and them that resulted in a deal to eventually merge Hulu with Fubo in an independent third-party company where Disney would own a majority and Fubo would own a minority of it with that. And Disney also agreed to give Fubo some cash. Now, shortly after that, Venue Sports, after there were concerns from Dish and others, I think DirecTV, also about suing them over that, they eventually walked away from it. Now it seems like they're kind of doing it again, but this time through kind of a backdoor way of offering a bundle of their different streaming services. It would be very interesting to see what the partners think of this. And Fubo, we reached out to Fubo for comment. They have not responded to our request at the time of this recording. But I suspect that this is definitely being looked at very closely by places like DirecTV, ESPN, and Dish and others as they look at what ESPN and Fox are doing. They're, I bet you, not going to be very happy about this with that. All right, let's keep moving along with this. AOL will be ending its dial-up internet service. Anybody here have AOL dial-up? I sure did in the early 90s with that. Actually, in the early 2000s again, I got it as a, I think it was like $10 a month at the time, because I was traveling a lot back in the days, late, like 99, 2000, 2001 kind of time frame, when many hotels did not have internet, but they had a phone port you could use for dialed internet. I would often do that. Well, it's coming to an end. And I think what's really killing this is Starlink. Let's be honest. The people who use dial-up are now dishing that and getting things like Starlink now with this. But on September 30th, the service will mark an end of an era, including they had an automatic software to make dialing easier into the right server. They also had a special browser meant for slower connections that they used. Those will all shut down on that date. Kind of a sad era. I remember very fondly growing up and hearing You Got Mail when I got back from high school and stuff, and checking my AIM Messenger and Yahoo Messenger and all that. You know, it's kind of fond. You know, it's funny. Internet is really not that old, but it sure feels like a lifetime ago. Back in the day of dial-up and Yahoo groups and MSN Messenger, IQC, whatever it was called, and all the others. Just feels like a different time. And the end of AOL Messenger, AOL Messenger 2 shut down a while ago, but the end of their dial-up service just kind of brings that all to my mind. Now, one interesting thing, I forgot about this. Yahoo now technically manages AOL. Kind of shocking. Remember, Yahoo for a long time was the smaller player. And it really is interesting to think about how big AOL was at one point. A lot of people remember AOL and Time Warner being joint at one point. They were a single company. I don't think a lot of people remember that AOL purchased Time Warner. That's how much bigger AOL was back in the day. Only for Time Warner to kind of eat AOL alive and then spit it out later with that. Kind of almost a reverse merger on that, where the influence and the size of Time Warner took over with all of that. Now, a lot of people talk about like Disney should buy this or Apple should buy that. Remember, AOL is a warning for that. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, AOL is tech company, is going to come in and revolutionize Time Warner. They didn't. It went the other way, just by the sheer size and complexity. For all the size of Apple, the operations of Disney, and all people talk about Apple buying Disney. Disney is a far more complex company with many layers and many other departments than what Apple is. Apple is huge, don't get me wrong. Disney is orders of magnitude bigger. And I could see the exact same thing happening that happened to AOL. That the Time Warner staff and eventually would overwhelm the AOL staff and vision and mission with it. So keep that as a warning. All right, next up, speaking of internet services, Amazon yesterday launched 24 more satellites, now has over 100 satellites in space designed to offer home internet service and business internet too. I know we focus more on the home side here, but it will do both. Now with this, SpaceX actually launched after a brief weather delay, but they used a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket once again, lifted off at about 6:42 a.m. yesterday at the time of this posting. Brings Amazon one step closer. Now they intend to launch over 3,000 of these satellites, and they initially plan to offer some service this year. We'll be interested to see if they really get that off. Amazon's been delayed mostly because of the partners they picked to launch their satellites failed to be able to meet the commitments that they had hoped, resulting in Amazon turning to SpaceX. And SpaceX willing to take money, happily put a competitor in space for this. But Amazon, one step closer to launching their home internet service. When and where this will launch first, still unknown. Amazon's still working just to get the service off the ground, quite literally, into space. All right, Paramount has inked a $7.7 billion deal with UFC's parent company. Now with this, UFC matches will no longer be pay-per-view starting next year once this deal takes effect with this. And they will instead air on CBS and stream as part of your subscription with Paramount Plus. Now exact details need to be announced. Wouldn't surprise me if you need the premium, the high-end tier, formerly known as Paramount Plus with Showtime. They got rid of the Showtime. I think it's called YouTube Paramount Plus Premium or something like that. Wouldn't surprise me if they make you get the ad-free one, we'll just call it. But with this deal, starting in 2026, UFC content will move over to Paramount. Kind of give you an idea how important Paramount and others see sports right now to pay $7.7 billion. Don't get me wrong, UFC is big. That's a big bet, not just that people will watch UFC, but that people will subscribe to Paramount Plus and keep watching other content and stay subscribed because of UFC. Many streaming services are increasingly turning to sports with the hope that that will be the way people subscribe and stay subscribed to their streaming service. Peacock originally was not intended to have sports. After trying it out, seeing the success, they're leaning very heavily into it. So is Max. Even Disney Plus is getting some sports content with it to try to get people to subscribe and stay subscribed with it. YouTube TV killing Disney Plus, HBO Max, and more? We did a survey of a bunch of you, and one of the interesting things that jumped out to me by this is over 40% of you say you spend the majority of your time watching television on YouTube, not YouTube TV, just YouTube. Increasingly, people are leaning into YouTube, and YouTube has been benefiting from it with ad revenue and increasingly YouTube premium content as people subscribe there to get revenue from that. But I noticed this myself. I feel like I watch a lot more YouTube than I used to. Increasingly, I'm not spending as much time watching television shows as I did in years past. Increasingly, YouTube series, like this one. Thank you for watching it. I really appreciate support. You help us and keep the doors open. I thank you for that. But let me know, do you watch more YouTube content than you do on other stuff? Have you noticed the amount of time you spend on YouTube going up? I sure have. I actually subscribe to YouTube Premium because of that. All right, you ready for kind of an interesting today in TV history? 52 years ago this week, George Lucas's American Graffiti debuted across America, paving the way for Star Wars. Yes, his classic movie was first released back in 1973 on August 11th. American Graffiti, made on a very small budget, even back then, of just not that much small, a modest budget we'll call it back then, $777,000, grossed over $140 million, pretty good return on investment. And a lot of people credit this movie for its success and its return for the reason that Fox took a risk on Star Wars when a lot of people passed on it. George Lucas had a very good success there. A lot of people were very pleased with that movie. And he parlayed that, let's call it, into what we know as a Star Wars franchise. When if he had tried to do that without the success of American Graffiti, many people suspect that he would never have got Star Wars made. Have you seen the movie? Do you like it? Leave me a comment. Let me know. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. You can find it down there or find a way to watch it. And lastly, 50 state attorney generals from across the country, so pretty much all of them. I don't know, do some districts of Colombia, Puerto Rico and stuff have attorney generals in those areas? I don't know. Let me know how. I'm not sure how that works. But the important thing here is they are going after a growing list of phone providers to crack down on robocalls. This is really important for cord cutters because increasingly these robocall scams are targeting cord cutters and internet providers. I actually had one over the weekend. I know a lot of people say don't answer your phone, but with what I do as a reporter, I get a lot of calls from people I don't know, from news organizations, either asking for a correction or asking for, hey, by the way, I sent you an email and a press release. Did you get it? Get a lot of those. By the way, the number one most common correction, a little side story. Can you believe it? Is usually the wrong logo. They usually say, hey, we updated our logo. And sometimes I can't even tell the difference. But they usually want us to change the image. And, hey, can you use our new logo or something like that? Or most common, number two, hey, I saw you use our quote, very thankful for that. Could you change the title Either they included the wrong title or we had an old title for his role and he had been promoted or something like that. And lastly, this one always cracks me up. They actually made a mistake. This one happens a lot. Hey, I know we sent you that press release. Could you correct it? This is here. So those are the 3 common ones. But I get a lot of calls. One of them this weekend was, hey, your half-off offer from Comcast is expiring. Why don't you give us a call back at the number on your phone and we can help you save 50% on your home internet if you pay with a gift card or something like that. Increasingly, we're seeing phone scammers target cord cutters pretending to be Netflix, Spectrum, Comcast, and others. Keep an eye out. I hope they're successful in the crackdown. There's been a lot of efforts to crack down on it. I have actually noticed a decrease in spam calls. Of course, Google is very good at warning us about suspected spam. But be very careful of anyone contacting you, claiming to offer you an internet discount from your internet provider, some type of streaming deal, and more. Increasingly, they are spam. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Until then, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.